This is what the enemy has been planning to do, and this is what he has been exercising. He's now reached the point where he has he has the confidence to put it out to the world that this is what it's going to do to the people, and there is nothing the people can do about it. Now that law has been passed in the United Kingdom. It's been passed, and it had its second reading. It's about to go for its third reading, and it's a bill. Let me repeat it for those who have just recently come online. It's called the Coronavirus Bill, in parentheses, HC Bill 122. It's not a hoax. It's not fake. It is for real. This is a bill that's been passed in the United Kingdom, and it's going to change the world because the rest of the world is going to follow. And don't be surprised if, Yah forbid, you're going to have to pray for your children because they can pick your children off the street and do whatever. You just read it in the bill. There's nothing you can do about it. You've got no recourse. Now, how this is going to create a bit of an infighting here in America is because of the different houses you have. You're going to have them fighting against the fact that this goes against the Constitution. Some people don't care that it goes against the Constitution. So you've got all those things that's going to be there, and it's going to cause civil war here in America. And things are going to go ballistic. All right. Any questions from anyone before we get into the lesson? Any other questions based upon anything that's newsworthy? Go ahead.
I was thinking about the fact that they passed the bill here to give everyone this money.
Mm-hmm.
That to me, and also Pelosi said that this may not be the last time they'll be handing out money to the public.
Yeah.
But to me,
Well, you know all that money they're talking about that they're going to hand it. You know it's a carrot, right?
it's a way of controlling.
Right. There's no such thing as a free meal.
Right. And every time we cash that check or it's deposited into our account and we use that check,
Right.
that could be like a signature,
Mm-hmm.
our signature,
Mm-hmm.
accepting that check or accepting that money
Mm-hmm.
or accepting that mark.
Yeah.
And by them adding more and more and more,
Right.
getting more and more dependent
Right.
on the government's money,
Right.
and then when the government pull it from under you.
Right. Well, again, all this is to tie up the believer into becoming so entangled in the web of intrigue by the government that you become completely dependent on it. Our people have got to learn to fend for themselves.
That's right.
Let's look at some things. I'm going to get into it with the teacher in a moment, but let's look at some things. Since this coronavirus has happened, many things has changed in this country. Notice, people who didn't buy guns went out and bought guns.
Mm-hmm.
So it shows you that the mindsets of people are changing because the government is now manipulating people and putting them into a corner position. And what happens to any creature that's cornered? You start to bite or fight back. So yes, all of this money, it's a carrot. It's a false flag. It's a red flag. Whatever description we choose to call it, it's a means of deceiving the people, getting them under further control. And yes, go ahead, sir.
Sir, there's going to be a digital. It's not going to even be money. It's digital currency.
Yeah.
And so that tells me that if they give you, if you accept.
So say that again. It's going to be what? A digital currency.
Digital currency.
Go ahead.
Then some say that they will hand out checks, but for the most part, they're looking to create a digital wallet that you sign on to get access to the funding. Which means that every time you use it, they know exactly what you're doing, where you are.
Well, again, it's a way of tracking. It's a way of and that's why, when you receive emails, you have to be smart enough today that every email you get, if you don't recognize the sender, you don't open it. Because if you open it, it can open up a file that allows them to gain access to all of your emails and your accounts. So we have to be smart. The scripture said, be as wise as a serpent and as harmless as a dove. So we're in that age, we have to use a lot of wisdom. All right, let's go. You have a question?
No,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that with them making sure that we can't talk to one another
Yes.
because we are away from each other, all of our communications are digital.
Correct.
And I think that they don't want us to have face-to-face conversations because they can't track them.
Absolutely. The world as we know it, it's starting to amp up into a time. Back in the 60s, they had an expression, they called it Big Brother's watching you. Well, the Big Brother philosophy has now become a reality, and it's going to be a nightmare when it starts to fully become operational. Go ahead.
It's going to usher in the 5G networks as well.
Yes. Well, the 5G network, again, that's opening up, it's like the 4K and now the 5G. That's opening up a whole new system of things because the digital tracking and the ability to gain access to private accounts is going to be far easier than what it is currently. Your phone right now, because it's limited to certain programs, the 5G will allow, look, right now, if you notice your phone or your iPads, every now and then it will switch, so to speak. My one does it and I hate it. And that's why I don't wear my iWatch all the time, because it creates a pattern as to where I'm going. My watch tells me where I'm going. On a Friday, it knows where I'm going. It knows how long I'm going to take to get there. And it says, welcome, blah, blah, blah. It's going to take you X amount of time to get to blah, 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 where you will meet at such and such and such. It tells me exactly where I'm going to meet in the parking lot. My phone tells me. Why? Because it has seen that pattern several times. Now it deduces that this is what I do regularly on the Friday. So they're going to know. And remember, this is how in the future they will know how many people are gathered together, because when you come together in meeting places and you have your phones, they will know whether you have more than 50 people there. You see? And this is why now some of the bigger camps, they're now talking about reducing their camps to 40s and 45s and keeping it below 50, so that there is no digital tracking made that they can come and start to break things up and put bans and all of that. You're going to say something? No? Okay. Let's go right into the teaching, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. The teaching that we're going to be dealing with today, the title is We Were Made for This. We were made for this. Those of you that are listening on YouTube Live or any of the other mediums that we're using, if you are hearing me well, just send out an email or a text or something or notification just saying with an I, just saying, or a one, just saying, yes, I hear you good. So just send out a one. If we get a number of ones, then we know that you're hearing us. If you send out twos, then we know that we're not coming in loud and clear to you. Then we'll make various adjustments. All right. So the teaching we're going to begin is we were made for this. Now, the question that we must ask ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, is that could it be that he has brought us into the kingdom for such a time as this? Could it be all that's happening has been culminating to this period because he's dealing with some people that he has set aside, made them special for this particular period? Let's go to the book of Job, chapter 5, if you please. Job, chapter 5. And in Job, chapter 5, I want to begin reading from verse 12. Job, chapter 5, and verse 12. Let's read.
It's the book of Job, chapter 5, and verse 12. He disappointeth the devices of the crafty.
Read it again, sir.
He disappointeth the vices of the charity, Salaki, of the crafty, so that.
Now, notice what he said. He disappointeth, he continues to disappoint the devices of the crafty. Because there are people who are being very spiteful out there, very low down. And then it says, so that what?
So that their hands cannot perform their enterprise.
So they have an enterprise. You hear that? They have an enterprise that they want to perform. Now, when you look up the word devices, the word devices means planned purpose. Planned purpose. So they have planned a purpose of some event. When you dig further into that word devices, you know what it says? It says order out of chaos. So then you have to begin to think about the mess that we're dealing with this coronavirus all over the world. Order out of chaos. So out of chaos comes order. Because they're going to let it get to a point that they're going to use the disorder and bring it about that it causes them to bring in their plan or usher in their plans that they've had slated all along. Bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen, whilst we are naively thinking this is just something that just came up the other day, some of these things have been 5 and 10 years in the planning. You just now waking up to it. But they've been planning this behind closed doors, smoke-filled rooms, as I like to put it, where they are supping back some whiskey and brandy and bourbon and laughing at what they're going to do and how they can control the people. Notice what is broken out in China. And they say that this happened in China, and China is to be blamed, etc., etc. And have you not noticed that there is a patent order on the coronavirus? If there's a patent order on it, it means that someone invented it. And if someone invented it, it means that they have the means to cure it. Because you don't put anything out there that's going to endanger the world or the earth, because you and your family and loved ones are in that place too. So you want to have some kind of antidote that can help bring people back too. So here it lets us know that the devices that the enemy have been planning, the Most High God, he says he will disappoint their devices of craftiness. So, read, so that
their hands cannot perform their enterprise.
So whatever they have their minds to do, he said they will not have the ability to carry it out, to perform. Read verse 13.
He taketh the wise in their own craftiness.
Read.
And the counsel of the forward is carried headlong.
Carried headlong. Read.
They meet with darkness in the daytime.
So they meet with darkness in the daytime. Hence those smoke-filled rooms with their cigars and their brandies and their darkness, and they're just lit little lamp here so they can't record. It looks like a conspiracy novel when you think about it. But it tells you clearly here, it's showing you, they meet with darkness in the daytime. How can that be? That means they have to be in a room. Go on.
And grow in the noonday as in the night.
As in the night. In other words, they've got to be groping around to switch a light on so they can get themselves out of there. These people are despicable. Notice, in California right now, the California governor have been releasing prisoners earlier than they were supposed to. Some of them weren't even slated to be released. They're being released. Now, think about that just for a moment. We have the so-called Chinese Americans who are in a little bit of a hot seat because people now are looking at them because they're saying, we're in this because of you. So what do? They go and get themselves a gun. They're going to protect themselves. And also the fact that jailbirds or criminals are being released earlier. And notice the police aren't doing anything about it. Did you read about that too?
That's right.
The police now are not bothering themselves. If you are driving over the speed limit in California, they're not arresting you for this, giving you citation like they once were. In fact, they're letting a lot of that go. In fact, all they're doing is just making a note of it so they'll get back to you later. But right now, they're not taking you in for any of those things. There are a lot of misdemeanor crimes they're getting away with. Why is that? Because even the police have been told to dial it back a little bit. So then, it means people are in fear of their life. Now, do you live in a neighborhood that you have to be in fear of your life, that you can call the police and they may take a good while to come? You're going to want to protect your family.
That's right.
Can't? So these are the things that we're facing right now. And notice, in California, and I'm using California because that's been the area that's been highly played out in the news, they were doing over 300 arrests per day. 300 arrests they were doing per day. Now it's 60. How do you drop from 300 to 60 all of a sudden? Because what they have done is created a recipe for disaster or a recipe for chaos. So again, order out of chaos. Let's take it a step further. Go to 2nd Ezra, please. 2nd Ezra. So citizens are going to provide their own forms of protection. 2nd Ezra, let's go to chapter 15. Begin at 16. 2nd Ezra chapter 15, verse 16. Let's read.
2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 16. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes.
Meaning they're not going to regard your politicians, your governors, your mayors. We're not going to regard them because they're not protecting us. They're not providing a means for us to stay safe. So why are we going to listen to them now? And remember, gun sales have gone up by 50% since the beginning of the year. Go on.
And the course of their actions shall stand in their power.
Go on.
A man shall desire to go into a city.
A man shall desire to go into a city, read.
And shall not be able.
And in California right now, a man can't do that. A man can't go into another city. The curfew is down. The lockdown is harder in California than what it is right here in Texas. New York is going through some heavy lockdowns as well.
That's right.
So let's read on. Let's read 17 again.
Verse 17. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled. The houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid.
Men shall be afraid. So you're seeing these things are being fulfilled even as we speak. And remember, it's not reached anywhere. This is just, the scripture says this is but a light thing. We're not even there yet.
That's right.
Let's go from here to the book of Isaiah, chapter 13. Isaiah chapter 13. And we're going to read Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 16.
Isaiah chapter 13, verse 16. Their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled, and their wives ravished.
So imagine, that day is coming when children are going to be treated like trash. They're going to be bashed. Wives are going to be ravished. But why? Because the husbands would have either been killed, or because many of the women that will be preyed upon will be women who you've heard them say in times past, I don't need a man. Okay, we'll see. Because in that day, you'll see that you're going to need someone. Read it again from the top, please.
Isaiah chapter 13, verse 16. Their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes.
Read.
Their houses shall be spoiled, and their wives ravished.
Read on.
Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them.
So he said it will stir up the Medes against them. Go on.
Which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it.
So in that day, it's not going to be about money. It's not going to be about money. It's going to be about survival. Money won't be worth anything. In fact, people were using it to make fires.
That's right.
Let's go from there, if you please, to the book of Zechariah, chapter 14. Zechariah, chapter 14. And please ask questions as we go along. I'm open to questions in this teaching. Zechariah, chapter 14 and verse 1. Let's read.
Zechariah chapter 14 and verse 1. Behold, the day of the Most High cometh, and thy spoil shall be divided in the midst of thee.
So even the things that you have, they're not going to mean anything. Don't put your heart in the things that you have around you now. They will not pay you back any dividends. In fact, they're going to be more destructive than anything else. Read on.
For I will gather all nations.
I will do what?
For I will gather all nations.
Read.
Against Jerusalem to battle.
To battle. Go on.
And the city shall be taken.
Go on.
And the houses, and the houses rifled. And the woman ravished. And half of the city shall go forth into captivity.
So you notice, you see that point about women being ravished? Please take heed to that, sisters. Because it means that you are going to be open prey, but for the Most High God. Now, the Most High God is going to have his hand over you, he's going to be protecting you. But can you imagine all of those who are not under the protection, under the shadow of the Almighty? They will be screaming in that day, and you will be too afraid to go and help someone for fear of your own self. Read on.
And the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city.
Shall what?
Shall not be cut off from the city.
Read on.
Then shall the Most High go forth and fight against those nations.
Read.
As when he fought in the day of battle.
Day of battle. So you're going to see that it's during these times when everything begins to fall apart that you're going to see the Most High put in his appearance. So you can see that what we're going through now, this is really nothing. Can you begin to understand that now? Because, people, they put fear into you to make you think that this can't happen and that can't happen. And you start to feel overwhelmed by all the things that's taken place. Now, when you begin to look as to how the climate of things are versus where the scriptures are, you begin to see this is not yet it. This is not yet it. It's heading that way, and this is just a wake-up call. This is a call for you to be prepared. Come on? All right, from here, let's go to the book of Mark, chapter 13. As we just read in Zechariah, that he's going to gather the nations. Now, in Mark chapter 13, begin at verse 19, you have to make sure that your mind and your spirit is alerted to the fact that we're heading to a time of false Christ. Those things have happened before. They're going to happen again. Mark 13, begin at 19.
Mark chapter 13, verse 19. For in those days shall be affliction, such as was not from the beginning of the creation which God created on this time.
So it's letting you be aware that the time is going to be terrible. You know, one of the things I've found with young people is that they, and I try my best because I was young once, and I try my best not to be a young person basher, because I used to hate it when I was a young person. They thought would be bashing the youth. So I don't like to do it. But I will say this: what our young people need to do is to become more aware that things aren't just happening for the sake of happening. There must be a reason why this is happening. For what reason? If you don't, you're not going to be smarter than the others.
That's right.
You'll find yourself prey in the same situation that everybody else is falling into. We have to become smarter. And as young men and young women, you have to begin to look at the situation and be aware of what's happening in your time. Can't? Otherwise, it will overtake you and you wonder what's going on. Read it again, sir.
Mark chapter 13, verse 19. For in those days shall be affliction.
Shall be what?
Shall be affliction.
Now remember, we read that terminology about affliction, going all the way back to Sodom and Gomorrah, going all the way back to Noah. It's been going on from the beginning.
That's right.
So it's not a new thing. But what you have to be aware, in your time now, it's new to you, but now get yourself together.
That's right.
Gird up the loins of your mind. Read.
Such as was not from the beginning of the creation which God created unto this time.
Read.
Neither shall be.
Read.
And except that the Lord had shortened those days, no flesh should be saved. But for the elect's sake.
But for who?
But for the elect's sake.
Read.
Whom he hath chosen, he hath shortened the days.
So for our sake, and we pray that we are part of the election, for our sake, he is shortening the time so that we don't have to suffer long in that period.
That's right.
Go on.
And then, if any man shall say to you, Lo, here is the Mashiach, or lo, here is there. Salaki, he is there. Believe him not.
Now remember, there are many who have come and will continue to come. Look at all those guys who came back in the 60s. I remember there's some Edomite guys walking around with their long hair and wearing what they call back then Jesus sandals, calling themselves Jesus. It happened then. But also, even among us, especially those who say that they're woke, are turning around and saying that there were jakes going around saying that they're Jesus. Really, you Jesus? No, don't think so. But anyway, read on.
Verse 22. For false Mashiachs and false prophets shall rise.
False Mashiachs, false prophets shall rise. Go on.
And shall show signs and wonders to seduce, if it were possible, even the elect.
Even the elect. Now, let's put that into perspective. You have people like that gentleman who can't even speak English properly. His name's Benny Hinn. And he is blowing people over. He's taking his handkerchief and flashing across people, and they're falling down. And they're likening him to Jesus. All these are false prophets. All of them. Because they're all about money. They're all about having these great... I get a telephone call every single year from Benny Hinn's group. And saying, Pastor Thompson, will you come along and help us with the organization? Will you come and help in this area? Will you come and help in that area? Not on your life. Because it's all about bringing all the people in and then to collect a huge offering and get out of that city and go to the next. It's about money for them. It's not about the saving of souls, so to speak. It's money enterprise. So when we read on further in the scriptures, read
verse 23.
It's let's read the latter clause of 22. It says, and signs and wonders
to seduce, if it were possible, even the elect.
Because they've seen people heal, they've seen people get up and walk, they've seen all of those things. Again, it's trickery out of the hands of the enemy. Read 23.
But take ye heed.
This is what you have to do.
But take ye heed.
Read.
Behold, I have foretold you all things.
He has foretold us all things. So if that is the case, that means we ought to be aware that these things are going to happen at given periods in time. Come on. Go to Jeremiah. Jeremiah 28. Jeremiah 28. And when you go there, we're going to begin reading at verse 8.
Jeremiah chapter 28 and verse 8.
This is what our prophets are meant to be doing. Read.
The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms.
And against what?
And against great kingdoms.
We have to be able to be bold enough to speak against leaders, law enforcement, whomever. We have to be bold enough to speak before them and not be afraid.
Come.
Read.
Of war and of evil.
We have to tell them that war is coming. Now, they don't like you saying that. Why are you bringing all that bitterness? Why are you bringing all of that?
Come.
Everything's calm right now. You bring up war.
Yeah.
In fact, your own family members will come against you because they're going, but why do you always want to talk about those things? I mean, everything's good right now. Now, when you hear them say that, it's because they're loving the world that they're in right now. And this world that they're loving is going to be their destruction. I don't care who that member is of your family. That's what they're doing. And you cannot help them because they're going to die in their trespasses and their sins. Read.
And against great kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence.
And of pestilence. Notice the word pestilence. Pestilence. And is pestilence not what's happening right now? Read on.
Verse 9. The prophet which prophesieth of peace, when the word of the prophet shall come to pass, then shall the prophet be known that the Most High have truly sent him.
That's truly sent him. There's a lot of them talking about, all we're going to do is just get through this, and everything's going back to normal, and there'll be peace, and we can just go on forever, anyway. Kumbaya. But here's the thing. None of those things is so. We are revving up. This is just a little bit of a shake before the storm comes. Go to 1 Ezra, chapter 15 and verse 1. This is what the preachers should be doing. You tell me if they're doing that. Go ahead and read. 2 Ezra, chapter 15, and verse 1.
2 Ezra, chapter 15, and verse 1. Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people.
So it says, speak thou in
the ears of my people.
My people, read.
The words of prophecy.
So we must be talking prophecy all the time. We've got to bring prophecy to them. Dustus, we're going to bring prophecy to them. Johanna, prophecy to them. We have to bring prophecy to the people.
That's right.
Yes.
Oh, but they did that back in the day. But the prophecy was for that generation. Now we're in another generation. We have to bring that prophecy again. Wake people up.
That's right.
Read.
Which I will put in thy mouth,
Read.
saith the Lord, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true.
Read.
Fear not the imaginations against thee. Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee.
Go on.
For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness.
Read.
Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues.
Oh my goodness. I will bring plagues. Where?
Upon the world.
Read.
The sword, famine, death, and destruction.
See? So the scripture has been prophesying this from the beginning. What's new? Nothing's new. Read on.
Come. For wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth,
Go on.
and their hurtful works are fulfilled.
So have you noticed that the whole earth at this time, and when have you lived to see an entire world come to a standstill like it has?
Come.
I have never seen that in all of my years.
That's right.
That when you see cameras streaming of other countries, and you look down the roads of there's no one on the streets. Hardly anyone's on the streets. Wherever you go. We were at camp yesterday, and guess what? A couple of brothers there chatting. Elam's out there as per usual. But other than that, not a whole lot of people. It was all the shops are shut down. The hotel even looked shut down to me.
Come. Here.
It was almost like a ghost town. Do you have any questions from anyone? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, over the course of our lifetimes, when we look at it on the news, they always made it like it was a third world country for them, and they're not developed and advanced. And they gave us a false sense of security, like it could never be us.
Right. And let me repeat what you just said, so the others who are listening over the years, and the news has made us develop a false sense of security that only such things could happen in other third world countries. Not here in America. Not here in the land of the bold and the whatever free. I don't know, whatever it is. Something like that.
Come.
But then when we read on, let's read verse 6 one more time.
2 Ezra chapter 15.
5 and 6, read that
Verse
again.
5. Behold, saith the Lord,
Read.
I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction.
Read, sir.
For wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled.
Fulfilled. Read.
Therefore, saith the Lord, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness,
Read.
which they profanely commit, neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves.
They have been exercising themselves by putting these things out to bring harm to the people of the earth.
Come.
Read.
Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually.
That's what we're doing. Father, how long must we go through?
That's right.
Why are we here under this set of circumstances, Father? But the same way then that our prophets had to go and proclaim it, Yahushua did the same thing when he came. He was proclaiming it too. Let's go back to Luke chapter 21. Luke 21 and 11. Luke 21 and 11. Let's read.
The book of Luke, chapter 21 and verse 11.
Go ahead.
And great earthquakes shall be in divers places,
Read on.
and famines, and pestilences.
And what?
And pestilences.
See, pestilence is still there. And remember, this is Yahushua bringing this teaching to the people.
Come.
Because if they didn't believe the prophets, maybe they'll believe Yahushua. But still, they still didn't believe him.
That's right.
But go on.
And fearful sights and great signs shall there be from heaven.
Read.
But before all things, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and into prisons, being brought before kings and
Read.
rulers for my name's sake. And it shall turn to you for a testimony.
For what?
For a testimony.
When you go through what you go through, when you suffer like you've suffered, Make sure you don't get up from your situation or your circumstance and don't have a testimony in your mouth.
That's right.
Because you've got to encourage your brethren. I've been through the valley. I know what it's like. But I feared no evil because I was made for this. Read on.
Settle it, therefore, in your hearts, not to meditate before ye shall answer.
Read.
For I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist.
Read.
And ye shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren and kinfolks and friends, and some of you shall they cause to be put to death.
So in the climate that's about to come, even those nearest and dearest to you, they will betray you. That time's coming, and that's going to be a hard pill for you to swallow. Read on.
And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's
For
sake.
whose sake?
For my name's sake.
Go on.
For there shall not a hair on your head perish.
Read.
In your patience possess ye your soul.
In your patience possess ye your soul. Read.
And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh.
Is nigh. There's going to come a time you're going to have to leave Dodge and get out.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go from there, if you please. Let's go. Let's deal with some of the nations. Let's look at that. Let's go back to Genesis. Let's deal with some of the nations. Question, go ahead.
Pastor, could, in verse number 12.
Verse number 12.
In Luke 21 and 12.
Luke 21 and 12.
Could the synagogues be the mega churches and the prisons?
Oh, yes. Yeah. All of these churches they're speaking about are those people who have put millions of dollars into these mega churches and they sit there feeling like they're God. Look, ladies and gentlemen, there's something that you need to be aware of. The thing with leadership, the higher you are raised up in leadership, the more humble you have to become. People just don't seem to get that. I've known brethren for years, and a little bit of fame or notoriety has gone to their heads, and they think they're Jesus himself. And then people are falling out under the Spirit, and they're feeling like they are the ones who caused all of that. Because it goes to your head. The thing with leadership, ladies and gentlemen, is that you have to have the right heart, because if you don't, you are going to become self-absorbent of all of that. And you'll feel like you are a god, because when people are hailing you and, oh, you're wonderful this, and imagine you're in a church of 40,000, 20,000, 15,000. You know what your flesh is saying with all of that? Go ahead.
But Pastor, they can confiscate those mega churches and turn them into hospitals.
Absolutely.
And
And
prisons.
they will.
And prisons.
And they will. Remember the complaint that was made to one of our brothers in this city when we had that serious storm here in Houston. It tore up everywhere. And this particular preacher, I won't mention his name because I'm not giving him no free advertising here. They gave a whole lot of flack to him because he had places in his auditorium that he could open up to bring people in, and he wouldn't do it. And because of that, he lost a huge membership pool after that situation that he had to go back into re-campaigning and building up everything with them again and get them into good steads. You're taking millions of dollars, not per year, this is per week. And you could allow them to come in and give them a bottle of water and a couple of blankets to lie down for a minute? Oh yeah, these mega churches will be confiscated and used as detention centers. You watch and see. Let's go to the book of Genesis chapter 19 and verse 36. Genesis chapter 19. Now you brothers better be on your good foot. I'm going to be jumping on you. All right. 19 and 36. Let's read, if you please.
Genesis chapter 19 and verse 36. Thus were both the daughters of Lot.
Read that again, please.
Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father.
Go on.
And the firstborn bare a son.
Now, the reason why we're bringing this up, because remember, the whole coronavirus thing has been centered around a particular group of people. Now, here it tells us clearly here, this is what was in the spirit of these daughters. That, in fact, let's see if I could have enough time to. Let's go back to verse 35, and let's read verse 35 to give some clarity for those of you that don't know the story. But make it 34. Go on.
Genesis chapter 19, verse 34. And it came to pass on the morrow that the firstborn said unto the younger,
that's the firstborn daughter. Go on.
Behold, I lay last night with my father.
So she made a terrible sin by getting her father drunk and laying with her father. But she made sure she got him to a drunken stupor to such a degree that he could not remember what he had done. Go on.
Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father.
Now, the reason why some would say, well, how could the father let this happen? How could he let them make him become so drunken? Well, remember the circumstance. Lot was not necessarily concerned about his things. It was his wife that was concerned about the things. That's why she looked back and she got destroyed. He was more concerned about getting out with his wife and his children. Now, you would say then, why did he allow himself to get drunken? Well, think about it. His wife has just been destroyed. The woman that he loved. He was in mourning. He was broken. So to drink was the way to forget or even to numb yourself from your past. And so that's what he did. And here we read that in the next verse, verse 35, go on.
Verse 35. And they made their father drink wine that night also.
Because you see, he was susceptible to that. Go on.
And the younger arose and lay with him, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose.
Because he was so intoxicated. Please keep that in mind. But for those of you who can get self-righteous and say, well, I would have known. No, you wouldn't. Not when you are drunk. And remember, the wines that they had back then, the grapes were more potent then than they are today.
That's right.
Go ahead.
Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father.
Go on.
And the firstborn bare a son, and called his name Moab.
So Moab they're the children of what we call today Down syndrome.
God.
Down syndrome. Down syndrome is the byproduct of why and how these people became the way that they are. Down syndrome. All right, go on.
The same is the father of the Moabites until this day.
And you see, it says until this day. In other words, whenever you read this now or in the future, it's still the same set of circumstances. Read.
And the younger, she also bare a son, and called his name Ben-Ami.
Ben-Ami, yeah.
And said, the same is the father of the children of Ammon until this day.
Of Ammon until this day. So, Ammon is the Japanese. Moab is the Chinese. You see that? Making it very, very clear. Have you got that, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes.
Now, let's go to Nehemiah. The book of Nehemiah, chapter 13. Now, the reason why it's important that we deal with these, because for you to get better understanding, Nehemiah, chapter 13, and begin at verse 1. Go ahead.
Nehemiah chapter 13 and verse 1. On that day, they read in the book of Moses in the audience of the people.
Go on.
And therein, Salaki, was found written that Ammonite and the Moabite should not come into the congregation of God forever.
So right here is telling you that in Nehemiah chapter 13 and verse 1, it says, on that day they read in the book of Moses, meaning it's a law. Read.
Come, because they met not the children of Israel with bread.
Hold it. Let's go back. Go back and read it again. Read verse 1 again.
Come. Nehemiah chapter 13 verse 1. On that day they read in the book of Moses,
The law.
in the audience of the people.
So all of the people of Israel were there. Read.
And therein was found written that the Ammonite and the Moabite should not come into the congregation of God forever.
Forever. So meaning that there is no reprieve from this. Even in the kingdom age, they will never have a place in the kingdom age. Never. Never. And then when we read the next verse, it explains why. Because one thing that you must understand, ladies and gentlemen, the Ammonites and the Moabites, they are prideful people. They're prideful. They're, in my opinion, they're despicable. Because they've gone to the islands and they have gone listen, they go to the islands and I'm talking about Trinidad, Jamaica, Barbados, and all of those different islands. They've gone to all of them, the Virgin Islands. And when they go, they take over like they own it, and they treat the people who have been there like they are garbage, spitting in their face, beating them publicly. To me, they're despicable, and I have no respect for them, none. And then when we read this now, it says in verse 2, because they what?
Because they met not the children of Israel with bread and with water.
With bread and water. In other words, the least you could, but incidentally, for some of you who say, they're being a bit harsh about something. Well, here's the thing. These individuals were Shemites.
Come.
Are you seeing this? They were Shemites. You treated your own brother like a dog.
Come.
He said that you didn't even present them with some bread and with some water. But look what you did.
But hired Balaam.
But you hired a mercenary prophet. Go on.
Against them.
Against the people. Go on.
That he should curse them.
And you wanted him to bring a curse of the Most High God on these people. You want them to curse the people that the Most High God blessed from the beginning.
That's right.
In other words, you want the Most High to become a liar and turn his word.
God.
You think you don't deserve all that's happening to you? You eat bat, rat, dog, cat, and you act like you're better than everybody else? Read, sir.
Howbeit, our God turned the curse into a blessing.
But the Most High God turned it into a blessing.
That's right.
You're not getting away with this mess. Because that's what these nations do. They like to try and get away with it. Read on a little bit more.
Now, it came to pass, when they had heard the law.
When they heard what?
The law.
So, you see, Pastor Thompson making this up. You read it right there. The law. Read.
That they separated from Israel all the mixed multitude.
So all of those who were of Ammon or was of Moab had to be separated.
That's right.
That's what it says. They had to be what?
Separated.
They had to be separate. Underline that in your Bible.
God.
It says the mixed multitude. Now, some of you are saying, Oh, but there are other mixed multitude. Now, the reason I'm going to jump ahead of you, because I know what you're thinking. I know. Oh, but there are other. But listen, this mixed multitude, Ammon and Moab, he says he don't have no place for them. Why? Because they weren't made to go through what you have been made to go through.
That's right.
You were made special. All right, in case you're struggling with that, let's go to Deuteronomy 23. Deuteronomy 23. In Deuteronomy 23, let's read from verse 3.
Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 3.
Read.
And an Ammonite or Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Most High. Even
Hold it. See, we just checking this thing out a bit too quick. It said, read it one more time, sir.
Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 3. An Ammonite or Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Most High, even to their 10th generation.
That means even up to 10 generations, still doesn't matter. They still can't enter in. Go on.
Shall they not enter into the congregation of the Most High forever?
For what?
Forever.
Forever. It's making it very clear here. Are you seeing that? Now, when you read through this, you will say, but hold on, but there are others that were of mixed lineage, so to speak. Okay. Because what about Moses? He married a Canaanite woman. You see, you're saying that. I can hear you saying that already. But then you have to look at, you've got to go back to Genesis 29 and study that. Then you've got to go back to Deuteronomy 26 and 5 to read and understand further. But let me prove to you that the nations had to be separated. Go, if you please, to Deuteronomy chapter 7 and read verse 6.
Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Most High thy God.
Unto who?
Unto the Most High thy God.
Read.
The Most High thy God have chosen thee to be a special people unto himself.
So he's now saying, this is not down to us. He's saying he has chosen you to be a special people unto himself. He's being selfish here for good cause. And then he says what?
Above all people that are upon the face
now,
of
there
the
are other
earth.
people with you. How can you be above them?
God.
How can you have people with you and you be above them? You as a collective have to be above all the people. Does that make sense, ladies and gentlemen?
That's right.
I want to make sure that this is very clear. All right? So then, when we jump, if you please, to 14, chapter 14 and verse 2, watch what he says there.
Deuteronomy chapter 14 and verse 2.
Read.
Ye are the children of the Most High your God. Ye shall not cut yourselves nor salaki.
Deuteronomy chapter 14 and verse 2.
Salaki. Deuteronomy chapter 14 verse 2. For thou art an holy people.
So you are a holy people. You can't be holy if you are being with a group of people that are cursed. You see? You can't have holy with a cursed thing. So he said that you are a holy people unto who?
Unto the Most High thy God.
Read.
And the Most High have chosen thee.
So he's making it clear. I've chosen you. I haven't chosen them. Go on.
To be a peculiar people.
You can't be peculiar with others. Go on.
Unto himself.
Unto himself. Read.
Above all the nations.
Above all the nations. Above all the nations. Is that what it's saying to us?
God.
Above all the nations. So now when we go back, if you please, to Deuteronomy 23.
Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 3. and an Ammonite or Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Most High. Even to their 10th generation shall they not enter into the congregation of the Most High forever.
Forever. Now, it's even going to qualify why they can't do it, because it's going to go back to what we just read in Nehemiah. Con? So let's read.
Verse 4. Because they met you.
Stop. Read it again.
Because they met you.
So we see there's a because there. Because they met you, read.
With Salaki. They met you not with bread and with water in the way, when ye came forth out of Egypt. And because they hired against thee Balaam, the son of Beor, of Pethor, of Mesopotamia, to curse thee.
To curse thee. So the scriptures, that's why we have records. So that no one can come later and turn around and say, well, I don't agree with it. But you see, you have to agree because there's a record. The scriptures always gives us a record. If you have trouble with that, go to Revelation chapter 1 real quick, just so that we can get that record business straight now. Revelation chapter 1. Now, I've gone off script a little bit because, again, I'm trying to curtail some of the things that I know folk would like to say. Right? Let's go to chapter 1 and verse 2.
Yes, sir. Revelation chapter 1 and verse 2. Who bear record of the word of God.
So there is always a record to make sure that people can't turn around and say, well, I don't agree with this or I don't agree with that. Can't?
Finish. And of the testimony of Yahushua, the Mashiach, and of all things that he saw.
That he what?
That he saw.
So everything that he saw, there's a record of it. Now there's something that just sprung into my head. Let me see if I could quickly find that. 30. All right. Let's go. John chapter 7 and verse 38. Watch this.
John chapter 7 and verse 38.
Now there's a record, right? Record how? Read.
He that believeth on me, as the scriptures.
As what?
As the scriptures have.
As the scriptures what?
Have said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water.
So now this is not what Pastor Thompson is saying. This is what as the scriptures have said.
Come.
As the scriptures have said. Come. Make sense so far? All right. Isaiah chapter 16 and verse 6. Because I said that they were a prideful race, and one may hold that as you're just saying that out of your own spirit. Isaiah chapter 16 and 6. Let's read.
Isaiah chapter 16 and verse 6.
Read, sir.
We have heard of the pride of Moab.
Oh. What?
Come. We have heard of the pride of Moab.
We have heard of the pride of Moab. Read.
He is very proud.
He's what?
He is very proud.
Notice, it didn't say he's just proud. It said he's very proud. Underline that in your scriptures right there. He is very proud. This man is not just prideful. He's very proud. Go on.
Even of his haughtiness.
Even of his haughtiness. Go on.
And his pride. And his wrath. But his lies shall not be so.
But his lies shall not be so. Now, so that's the scripture. Remember, as it is recorded, as it is written, as the scriptures have said. So how do you escape any of that?
God.
Makes it very, very clear, Khan.
God.
Now, let's go to Isaiah chapter 15 and verse 2.
Isaiah chapter 15 and verse 2.
Read.
He is gone up to Bethel and to Dibon, the high places to weep. Moab shall howl over Nebo and over Media or Medeba. On all their heads shall be baldness, and every beard cut off.
Now, The reason why that's important, because for our medical people in here, it was said, if you want to avoid the virus, shave your beards off. Now, how does it say, shave your beards off, when Moab can't even grow 3 hairs? They struggle to grow a beard. And most Moabites or Ammonites, they don't have beards.
That's right.
But yet you say, shave off your beard, and some of our simple jakes will run out there, oh, I'm going to shave off my beard. I know it's come on. I'm going to shave it up because I don't want to catch. What? Scripture says, fret not yourself. And the scripture is making it very clear here. Read it again in case anyone thought you're making this up, Doctor.
Isaiah chapter 15, verse 2. He has gone up to Betha and to Dibon, the high places, to weep. Moab shall howl over Nebo, and over Medeba, and all their heads shall be baldness.
Shall be baldness.
And every beard cut off.
And every beard cut off. They don't and cannot grow beards like the rest of the world. They can't. It's not in them for them to do that. It says that they're going to be howling and crying. They are in the same position, we'll go to that one in a moment, as Esau.
That's right.
Crying to get some forgiveness. But the Lord said, too late. Read verse 3.
Verse 3. In their streets they shall gird themselves with sackcloth on the tops of their houses, and in their streets every one shall howl, weeping abundantly.
See? So they know our laws. See? They know our laws.
That's right.
They put on sackcloth and ashes.
That's right.
They're bald. But did it do anything? No, it did not. See, so they knew us, and yet you knew our standards, which was given to us by the law, and yet you still didn't give us bread or water. And by the way, when they didn't give you the bread and water, they broke the law.
Right.
Because the scripture said that I will bless them that bless you.
That's right.
And I will curse them that curse you. They cursed us, boom, the Most High cursed them back. So there's no arguing with the Most High about this, because we can't make straight that which the Most High has made crooked. Are you seeing this now, ladies and gentlemen? Yes. All right. So from here, let's go, if you please, to 2nd Ezra, chapter 15. Back there. We're now going to begin at verse 46. Because again, I'm just trying to bring all the cases, because we're talking about this coronavirus. They have been disobedient. These people eat all manner of nonsenses, and then you've got a strand that was given to you from the United States of America to experiment on, and because you're already eating things that have brought down your resistance and brought down your body so it doesn't respond well, and then you get a little infection, and that blows out of control on you. Because you're not like the rest of the nations who will eat certain types of things. You will eat anything. If it crawls, you eat it. Let's read from verse 46, please.
2nd Ezra, chapter 15, verse 46.
Now we're going to read how they like to be like Babylon. Let's read.
And thou, Asia, that art partaker of the hope of Babylon.
See? Read it again, because we read it too fast, so people kind of missed it. Read.
And thou, Asia, that art partaker of the hope of Babylon, and art the glory of her person.
So she wants to be like Babylon.
That's right.
She wants to be like them. And thou, Asia, that art partakers of the hope of Babylon. Whatever Babylon hopes to be, you want to be it too.
Come.
And art the glory of her person. That's why you'll see them always want to be like America. That's why even in their own country, they're trying to speak with the American swagger. How you doing? Read on.
Verse 47. Woe be unto thee, thou wretch, because thou hast made.
Notice, I didn't call them wretch. I didn't call them wretch. Scripture said that they're wretch. Now you see what see, they don't teach this in the churches.
No, sir.
Because they want you to love everyone. The scripture says, don't love everyone. That's not what I'm asking you to do. But we've been so brainwashed. God so loved the world. He loves everyone. No, he doesn't. Not according to the scriptures.
That's right.
Read it again, sir.
Woe be unto thee, thou wretch, because thou hast made thyself like unto her.
See? Read.
And hast decked thy daughters in whoredom.
Just like Babylon. Read.
That they might please and glory in thy lovers, which have always desired to commit whoredom with thee.
With Babylon. Read.
Thou hast followed her.
Thou hast what?
Thou hast followed her.
Read.
That is hated of all her works and inventions. Therefore, saith God.
Inventions, meaning if they experiment, we can experiment.
God.
Scriptures doesn't lie. In fact, it's painting such a clear picture here. How is it impossible for us not to know who it's speaking about at this point?
God.
Read.
I will spend plagues. Salaki, I will send plagues.
I will what?
I will send plagues upon thee.
So there's the plague again. There's the pestilence again.
God.
I will send plagues upon thee. Read.
Widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, to waste thy houses with destruction and death.
And have we not sat back and watched all of this take place?
God.
Wow. Psalm 64 and 65. Psalm 65 and 8.
It's the book of Psalm, chapter 65 and verse 8. They also that dwell in the uttermost parts are afraid at thy tokens. Thou makest the outgoings of the morning and evening to rejoice.
In other words, let's read it one more time.
Psalms chapter 65 and verse 8. They also that dwell in the uttermost parts are afraid at thy tokens. Thou makest the outgoings of the morning and evening to rejoice.
Read.
Thou visitest the earth and waterest it. Thou greatly enrichest it with the river of God.
Let's back up just a little bit because that's not the verse that I want. But read verse 4 for me, please. Blessed is the man.
Psalms chapter 65 and verse 4. Blessed is the man whom thou choosest, and causest to approach unto thee, that he may dwell in thy courts.
Read.
We shall be satisfied with the goodness of thy house,
Read.
even of thy holy temple.
Read.
By terrible things in righteousness wilt thou answer us, O God of our salvation.
Read.
Who art the confidence of all the ends of the earth, and of and of them that are afar off upon the sea.
Read.
Which by his strength setteth fast the mountains, being girded with power.
Read.
Which stilleth the noise of the seas, the noise of their waves, and the tumult of the people.
Read.
They also that dwell in the uttermost parts are afraid at thy tokens. Thou makest the outgoings of the morning and evening to rejoice.
Read.
Thou visitest the earth and waterest it. Thou greatly enrichest it with the rivers of God, which is full of water. Thou preparest them corn when thou hast so provided for it.
Okay, no, that's not the verse. There was a verse that I had in mind. I can't remember what it is. I thought it was there, but that's my bad. Salaki. All right, let's move on from that. There was a scripture that deals with the secret devices of the enemy, and it's in Psalms. The secret devices of the enemy. It's like the Lord brought out their secret devices and made them known. They were trying to keep it secret, but the Most High brought it out. I can't remember where that is now. So
64:2, the secret counsels of the wicked.
64:2, let's go.
It's the book of Psalms, chapter 64 and verse 2. I'll start at verse 1. Hear my voice, O God. In my prayer, preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity.
That's the one. That's it. That's the one. That's the one. Thank you very much. That's the one.
Come.
All right, now let's read that again. Read 62 again.
Psalms chapter 64 and verse 2.
Read 1 and 2 like you did.
Verse 1. Hear my voice,
Hear
O
my
God,
voice.
in my prayer.
And our prayers, Israel, go on.
Preserve my life from fear of the enemy.
Keep us sheltered from all of the actions of our enemies. Go on.
Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked.
So when they are putting together their secret counsels to do and bring evil against us, read.
From the insurrection of the workers of iniquity.
From those who are workers of iniquity. Hide us, cover us from that. Yeah, that's the one. Thank you so much. Thank you so much indeed.
All praise to the Most High.
All right. So what we need to do now, I need you to go to Malachi. No, let's go to Philippians. Let's get back to dealing why we were made for this. Why we were made for this. What did I do now? So let's go to Philippians chapter 1 and 6.
The book of Philippians, chapter 1 and verse 6. Being confident of this very thing, that he which hath begun a good work in you will perform it until the day of Yahushua, the Mashiach.
So, that's powerful in and of itself.
Come.
Because that's letting you know that the Most High God has started something in you. In fact, let's jump up to verse 3 and read from verse 3 on down.
Philippians chapter 1 and verse 3. I thank my God upon every remembrance of you.
Read.
Always in every prayer of mine for you, all making request with joy.
Read.
For your fellowship in the gospel from the first day until now.
Until now. So, everything that you've been doing, the Most High has got it covered because he is never going to forget your labor of love. He's never going to forget that.
That's right.
He has made you for a particular purpose. And then it says in verse 6, being confident.
Verse 6, being confident of this very thing, that he which hath begun a good work in you will perform it until the day of Yahushua, the Mashiach.
In other words, what he started in you, don't fret, don't become dismayed, because he who started it is going to finish it. Because he doesn't put confidence in anything that he doesn't believe is going to complete the assignment. So you who have his name, you who have been called by his name, just know this: you didn't choose you. You didn't choose you. There are when you look out to the other Jakes out there, you have to say to yourself, there are other Jakes out there that's far more intelligent, far more brighter, far more this than I. Why did you choose me? He says, being confident of this very thing, that he which hath began a good work in you, he said, I will perform it. until the day that Yahweh Shem Yahushua appears in the clouds. And when he comes back, you know who you are.
Hallelujah.
In other words, we were made for this.
God.
Malachi chapter 3 and 1. Let's see why. Malachi chapter 3, because you've got to go through something to be worth it. Malachi chapter 3 and begin at verse 1.
The book of Malachi, chapter 3 and verse 1.
Read.
Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. And the Lord whom ye seek shall suddenly come to his temple, even the messenger of the covenant, whom ye delight in. Behold, he shall come, saith the Most High of hosts.
Read.
But who may abide the day of his coming?
Who is going to abide the day of his coming? Who's going to be able to stand it? Go on.
And who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire, like fuller's soap.
Read.
He shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver.
He's going to do what?
And he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver.
Let's go real quick to, let me see. Let's go to a full of soap. Let's go to 2nd Ezra chapter 16 and verse 17.
Come.
3. 2nd Ezra 16 and 73.
2nd Ezra chapter 16 and verse 73. Then shall they be known who are my chosen.
So this is how you who are his chosen, this is how you're going to be known. Go on.
And they shall be tried as the gold in the fire.
You are going to go through some fire. You're going to go through some hell. You're going to go through some hell. You're going to go through moments that's going to make you sweat. Begin to worry. How am I going to do it? How am I going to make it? But read.
Hear, O ye my beloved.
So listen up, my beloved. Read.
Saith the Lord.
Read.
Behold, the days of trouble are at hand.
Trouble is at hand. It's coming. It's inevitable. Read.
But I will deliver you from the same.
Have confidence.
That's
He
right.
said he's going to deliver you from the same. Whatever it is, he's going to deliver you. Come?
Come.
Right. Now let's go back. In fact, let's pull a couple of scripts. Let's go to First. Before we go back to Malachi, let's go back to 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 10 and 13. 10 and 13.
1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 13. There have no temptation taking you, but such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you, suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able.
Now he's not going to make you go through anything that you are not able to what?
But will have the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it.
So he's going to use the same thing that comes to destroy to make a way of escape for you. God, hallelujah. 2 Peter 2 and 9. 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 Come on.
2 Peter chapter 2 and verse 9. 2 Peter chapter 2 and verse 9. The Lord knoweth the Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations.
See? So if you're the godly, he said, I know how to deliver you. Go on.
And to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished.
So the unjust will be reserved until the day of punishment. That's why we have to recognize some things we go through. We don't like it, especially when we see our enemies still getting away with it. But know this, those same demons, that it appears like they're getting away with it. All the Most High has done, He's reserved them.
That's right.
I've got them on the top shelf for some real good punishment. Top shelf punishments coming to them. And so, when we go back to Malachi chapter 2 and verse, let's read 2 and 3.
Malachi chapter 2 and verse 3.
Read.
Behold, I will corrupt your seed and spread dung upon your faces.
Salaki chapter 3 and 2.
Come. Malachi chapter 3 and verse 2. But who may abide the day of his coming?
Can't read.
And who shall stand when he appeareth? For he is like a refiner's fire.
Read.
And like fuller's soap.
Like fuller's soap. Go on.
And he shall sit as a refiner.
He shall do what?
And he shall sit as a refiner.
Go on.
And purifier of silver.
Read.
And he shall purify the sons of Levi, and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto the Most High an offering in righteousness.
In righteousness. So we have to go through it. Come on. All right, so a few more scriptures, then we're through. So from here, let's go, if you please, to let's go to Psalms chapter 12 and 6. That thy word purifies us. Psalms chapter 12 and 6.
Come.
Let's read.
Psalms chapter 12 and verse 6. The words of the Most High are pure words, as silver tried in the furnace of earth.
So every time you receive this truth, it's purging you. Every time we receive this truth, it's cleaning you up, making you prepared. Finish it.
Purified 7 times.
So we are purified, what?
7 times.
In other words, completely. Complete.
Come.
From there, let's go to Ezekiel chapter 22. Ezekiel 22 and verse 18.
Ezekiel chapter 22 and verse 18. Son of man, the house of Israel is to me become dross. All they are brass and tin and iron and lead.
Hold it. Jump back up to verse 14, give more understanding.
Come, Ezekiel chapter 22, verse 14. Can thine heart endure, or can thine hands be strong, in the days that I shall deal with thee? I, the Most High, have spoken it, and will do it.
And he said he's going to do it. Watch it now. Read.
And I will scatter thee.
I will do what?
And I will scatter thee.
Read.
Among the heathen.
Read on.
And disperse thee in the countries, and will consume thy filthiness out of thee.
So he's going to clean us up. Read.
And thou shalt take thine inheritance in thyself in the sight of the heathen.
Read.
And thou shalt know that I am the Most High.
The heathens are going to see you possess what you're going to possess.
Come.
And it's going to make them envious. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever taken an opportunity to imagine what that would be like. I like to every now and then daydream on that. Can you imagine? Your enemies are going to see and you're going to see this. That's why I say all of them cannot be destroyed. Moab is going to see you take possession.
That's right.
Ammon is going to see you take possession. Elam is going to see you take possession. The Arab is going to see you take possession. And also the Edomites are going to see you take possession. Can you imagine the look on their faces?
Yes.
You know, they're bound up, hands behind their back, shackles on their feet, weights on their neck, and they're looking and bleeding and saying, please have mercy on me. If I knew that you were the people, I would never have done that to you.
That's right.
They're going to be begging you, just have mercy. Let's read.
Come.
Before I get carried away, let's read.
Yes, sir. Ezekiel chapter 22 and verse 16. And thou shalt take thine inheritance in thyself in the sight of the heathen, and thou shalt know that I am the Most High. And the word of the Most High came unto me, saying,
Read.
Son of man, the house of Israel is to become dross. All they are brass and tin, and iron and lead, in the midst of the furnace.
Read.
They are even the dross of silver.
Now, I'm not going to go into all the scriptural backing of this, but just bear this in mind real quick, okay? We're dealing with brass. Read it out again.
Salaki.
All they are
even the dross of silver.
All they
Salaki, are brass and tin and iron and lead in the midst of the furnace. They are even the dross of silver.
So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Now, all 5 of those have a meaning, and all 5 of those, there's a precept to go with them. I'm only going to tell you what their meanings are right now. I won't give you the scriptures. I don't have time, because that's not really the focus of our lesson. Brass means suffering and sacrifice. I've taught this before, and you should have it in your notes, because I've actually done this teaching. Tin means worthlessness, weakness. That's what we've gone through. Iron means slavery and affliction. It also means barren. Lead means reprobate. Silver means redemption. And there's precepts to back all of those things up. But we don't have the time for that now. So let's go back and let's read verse 19 on.
Verse 19. So like Ezekiel chapter 22 and verse 19. Therefore, thus saith the Most High God, because ye are all become dross, behold, therefore I will gather you into the midst of Jerusalem.
Now, dross is something that is impure. And so Israel has been under fire from the beginning, because all that dross that is in us needs to be burnt up, melted up, so it can be scooped off the top.
Come.
Once he's finished, once we've been through all of the furnaces and the heat and the fire, we become better. In fact, Scripture says we become like pure gold.
That's right.
Or pure silver. Read on, sir.
Verse 20. As they gather silver and brass and iron and lead and tin into the midst of the furnace,
read, sir,
to blow the fire upon it, to melt it, so will I gather you in my anger and in my fury, and I will leave you there and melt you.
So that's why we're in what we're in, because we're being melted. The things that, and why is that so important? Because we've mixed with other nations. We've found ourselves doing what other nations do. We've worshipped their gods. We've eaten things that we shouldn't eat. So there's a whole lot of contaminants in our spirit, in our bodies, that has to be burnt out.
That's right.
Go on.
Yea, I will gather you and blow upon you in the fire of my wrath.
Read.
And ye shall be melted in the midst thereof.
Read.
As silver is melted.
As what?
As silver is melted.
So as redemption is melted, go on.
In the midst of the furnace, so shall ye be melted in the midst thereof. And ye shall know that I, the Most High, have poured out my fury upon you.
So 2 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 23. 2 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 3. I only have 3-4 more scriptures after that. So 2 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 23.
2 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 23.
Let's go.
Are they ministers of the Mashiach? I speak as a fool. I am more in labors more abundant, and stripes above measure.
So this is Paul letting you know that Paul said that in terms of his suffering as an apostle, he has suffered much. He has suffered bondage, he has suffered beating, he has suffered all those things. So sometimes when we're complaining about what we've been through, if we went through what Paul went through, then we really have something to complain about. But read on.
In prisons more frequent, in deaths often.
So he had been in prison frequently. In death, he had been killed and resuscitated many times. Wow. Read on.
Of the Jews 5 times received I 40 stripes, save one.
So his own people beat him. His own people. And we complain when somebody looks at us cross-eyed. Read on.
Thrice was I beaten with rods. Once was I stoned. Thrice I suffered shipwreck.
Now, you notice you talk about stoning. Now, Americans may not understand stone. I don't even understand because I wasn't brought up there. But what I'm saying is that the countrymen from the islands, they believed in stoning. Oh, yes. Yes, indeed. They will stone you. If they are not Israel, I don't know what is. Am I like Doctor? No. They will, if you don't come together, they'll stone you to death. Just saying, but let's read on.
I suffered shipwreck. A night and a day I have been in the deep.
Read.
In journeys often, in perils of water, in perils of robbers, in perils by my own countrymen.
By my own countrymen. You done yet? No.
No, sir.
I'll finish it.
In perils by the heathen, in perils in the city, in perils in the wilderness, in perils in the sea, in perils among false brethren.
False brethren. So, false brethren even among us. But notice, he even speaks about doing this in the winter. That means when anyone talk about, oh, I don't want to go out there in the winter time because it's just too cold. But notice, our brother Paul is saying that he had done it in the winter time. He did it when it was hot. He did it when it was perilous. He just kept on doing whatever he needed to do to please the Most High.
That's right.
That's fantastic. Let's stay in 2 Corinthians. Go to chapter 13 and 7.
2 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 7.
Let's read.
Now I pray to God that ye do no evil, not that we should appear approved, but that ye should do that which is honest. Though
read that again. We do that which is what?
But that ye should do that which is honest.
So honesty must be a part of our character. Go on.
Though we be as reprobates.
Though we be as reprobates. Go on.
For we can do nothing against the truth.
Now the reprobate is part of that lead. See,
that's
that
right.
Lead needs to be burned down. Go on.
Salaki, for we can do nothing against the truth, but for the truth.
Read.
For we are glad when we are weak, and ye are strong, and this also we wish, even your perfection.
Read.
Therefore I write these things, being absent, lest being present I should use sharpness, according to the power which the Lord hath given me to edification, and not to destruction.
Go on.
Finally, brethren, farewell. Be perfect. Be of good comfort. Be of one mind. Live in peace.
We must do what?
Live in peace.
Now, when it says live in peace, it's speaking about with one another.
That's right.
Not with the rest of the world, but with one another. Finally, brethren, farewell. Be perfect. Be complete. Be mature. Be of good comfort. Be of one mind. Live in peace. Go on.
And the God of love and peace shall be with you.
Shall be with you. Go from there to 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and 13. 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and 13. We are ready to sign out. 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and 13. Let's read.
1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 13.
Read it earlier, let's read it again.
There have no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able.
All right. Now we've read that before. Let's run and read again for the conclusion. 1 Peter chapter 2. 2 Peter 2 and 9. Yeah, 2 Peter 2 and 9. Let's go there.
2 Peter chapter 2 and verse 9. The Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished.
Read.
But chiefly them
Watch it now. Watch this carefully. Read.
But chiefly them that walk after the flesh.
That do what?
That walk after the flesh.
Go on.
In the lust of uncleanness.
The lust of uncleanness. Read.
And despise government. Presumptuous are they. Self-willed. They are not afraid to speak evil of dignities.
Now, dignities or dignitaries. Now, what is that? Can somebody tell me? Anyone? Quickly.
Government.
Dignities deals with dignitaries. So dignitaries is what? Now remember, when it's speaking about dignitaries or dignities is us. Because ultimately we are the dignitaries. So what is a dignitary?
Leadership among our people.
Say what?
Leadership among our people. Those.
Well, that's how we've been taught. Christianity teaches that. That is the leadership. But what did I just say? The dignitaries is us.
How we deal with each other.
How we deal with each other. Now, let's understand what the word dignitaries mean. Find it, just, you Google it, whatever, dictionary, real quick. Now, the reason why I'm being persistent on this, because you need to know what you are, who you are. So when we read it now, anyone got it in the dictionary, or you Google it, anyone? Who said that?
A person considered to be important.
Good. You've got it. Now, read it loud. A person considered to be what? Important. You are important. Finish it, ma'am. Because what?
Of high rank.
Because of high rank
Or office.
or office. We can stop there. You have a high rank and you have a high office, but notice, the princes are walking and the slaves are on horses.
That's right.
And you're a dignitary. And right now, it tells you that clearly they are not afraid to speak evil of dignitaries. They're not afraid to speak evil about you.
That's right.
They used to bother me, that one word there, because what's the meaning? I mean, and yes, in the Christian church, and the reason why I never looked into it, because like many of us, when the Christian church told us this is speaking about the leadership of the church. When really it's speaking about all of us.
That's right.
How dare you separate us like that? And here endeth the teaching. We were made for this.
Good teacher.
To the Most High be the glory. All right. If there's any questions on the line, I'll take those questions now. If there's any further questions, we'll take them. Yes, sir.
In regards to Ruth, as to Boaz, how does she fall in line there? Because it says separate.
Absolutely.
From the Moabite.
Absolutely.
So how does she play?
Absolutely. Again, the only way you're going to understand that with Ruth is that you have to read what's called a chronological Bible to let you know when that took place versus the other parts. Can't? However, Ruth was used purely as an instrument. Nothing more. Now, there are some camps that teach that Ruth was an Israelite. And I bought that for a while. But you see, this is why I keep telling you, don't get the teaching, you online, or you here among us now, don't get the teaching, and you get the teaching, and you go back and you sit and say, okay, Pastor said it, that's all right. No. You go home and you go over it and you research and you double check it. That's what I used to do with my own pastor, the late great Bishop Norman L. Wagner. And you know what? I would go back, and if I had a query, I'd go back the following week and I would say, Pastor, blah, 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 blah. And wait for him to give me the direction. The one thing that I never did is come back trying to land blast him and trying to tell, well, you know, the scripture said that, and you said, no, I don't do that. I say, I give my findings, and then I wait for him to give me the response. Can't? And so it is with the scripture. But she was used purely as a vessel, nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else. Because remember, she is just the vessel. The person who played more of an important role than even her was who? Boaz. Why Boaz? Go to the scripture in Numbers. Numbers or Exodus? Numbers 1 and 18. Numbers chapter 1 and 18, let's go. Let's read.
Numbers chapter 1 and verse 18. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month. And they declared their pedigree after their families.
They did what?
They declared their pedigrees.
They declared their pedigrees
after their families.
Meaning their bloodline after their families.
By the house of their fathers.
By the house of their fathers. That's why when you read in 1 Chronicles chapter 9 and verse 1, it said, so all Israel were reckoned by the genealogy, and behold, they were written in the book of the kings of Israel and Judah, who were carried away to Babylon for their transgression. Meaning, even when we were carried away, we still had a record of our genealogy. That's how we knew. But what did they do? When Esau now came to take us away from, and remember, you've got to remember who Esau is. Esau's the devil, like the Bible speaks of. He's the devil. And you know what he did? He came in two forms. He came as Greek. And when he came as Greek, the devil changed our names. That's why when we read the Apocrypha and you read some of the names of the patriarchs and apostles, patriarchs and prophets, you'll see that they gave the Greek version of it. Because they're always trying to change things. That's why, you know, the Greeks and Romans and the Americans, Esau, they're all the same people. Just regenerated again in a different place. Same spirit. And what did they do? They tried to change your name. And when they took your ancestors or our ancestors from the Africas and brought them to the Americas, what did they do? Change your names. Yeah. Took away your heritage. Took away your language. And that's why when we confound the people on the street and they come around and they say, well, why are you making this such a big deal? Did you lose your name? Did you lose your language? Did you lose your heritage? And they shut their mouth right up.
That's right.
I know it works me up a little bit, keep that blood pressure down. But yes, go ahead.
It's running around in my mind. Where would Ruth be if she was a Moabite in the kingdom? Where would she be here?
Oh no, she's done. She'll be back. The question is, where will Ruth be in the kingdom age? Well, she'll be back, but unlike Esau, she won't be completely destroyed. Esau, we won't even know what Esau was when we're done with Esau, because he will be like he never was. But Moab, they will become the pot washers.
That's right.
As pursuant to the book of Psalms. They're going to be pot washers. They're going to be slaves. They're going to be ones who will clean and iron your clothes, wash your plates, make sure all those things are together. Otherwise, you're going to get a thrashing. So she will come back and serve out her life in that regards, and we'll keep on repeating that process. Now, will there be some kind of leniency on her? I don't know. I'm not the Most High. But I can say, since you contributed to the bloodline of Yahushua, there may be a little something going that way. In other words, where you might have got 50 lashes, you may just get 25. Now, the person said, how can you be sitting there and laughing about this? Because the Bible says I must. I must make merry about these things. The scripture. And that's why you see when people turn around and say, they haven't read their Bible. Because the scripture said we are to make, make mirth over this. Yes.
So Lot's wife and his daughters, who all were disobedient in the kingdom, will they also have a lesser role?
Oh, well, see, Lot's wife will be back, but she'll be the least in the kingdom, but she'll still be Israel. But his daughters, they're done with. They are completely done with because of what they did. You see, and by the way, when I say done, I'm talking about their genealogy, because remember, the genealogy is of the father, right? But the father was not a willing participant in that act. You see, they committed fraud on him. You see. So, they will be the least in the kingdom. They're done in that regard. And again, see that spirit that they had then? That same spirit continues. When they come back, they'll still have that same spirit.
And this kind of goes to at the beginning where Lot wasn't really obedient to his uncle, so maybe his seed was cut off.
Lot was not honorable to his uncle, and he didn't show honor because he should have allowed his uncle to have given him where to go.
Right.
He shouldn't have picked out. He looked and he picked out the best for himself.
Right.
So even though he enjoyed some final glories, the fact is the same final glory became his nightmare.
Right.
You see. So, but the father, his uncle, who humbled himself, his glory will be endless. You see, in that regards. You see. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Any other questions? Feel free. Any questions online? I know we have a number of people in the UK that's been kind of watching and following and so on. We'll give a shout out to the brother Zechariah out there, and he's staying strong and faithful. We'll give praise to the Most High for him and his family. Do we have anyone else? Any other questions from anyone before we close this down and move forward? camera doesn't look like it's pointing correctly. It looks like it's going.
I think it got knocked a tiny bit, so but
It
it's,
got knocked.
you guys are still in focus.
Oh, we're still in focus, okay.
They see you.
All right. Yeah. So, all right. So let me just say this to our those who participate by watching and supporting. Again, I want to thank you again for your continual aid and support. And I want to encourage you. We're still trying to reach our goal of 10,000 likes and people to be following us. So continue to push the word out there. Continue to repost this. I'm teaching out there to your friends and your brethren, mothers, fathers, neighbors, uncles, aunts. Just get it out there so that they can be a participant of this word. And again, to those of you that have been so much of a blessing to us continually with your giving, please continue to give. It's a blessing. We would hope that those of you that can make it down this part of the world for the Passover and all the other things that's going, the festivities, certainly stop by and we will make you feel at home. We know under the present conditions of the C-19 virus, we know that it makes it difficult, but our prayers is with you. I want you to know that you're not by yourself. The angels of the Lord encampeth round about those who fear him. So you have backup and reserve backup. You're in good hands by the Most High. We continue to pray that everything is going to go forward in your life to the blessings that you need it to be. And furthermore,
Brother Rashawn wants to know if you're going to live stream Passover part of it.
Yes, and to Brother Rashawn, what we're going to do out in Phoenix, Arizona, we're going to organize something for you so that you can participate with us. We're not going to leave anyone out. We're going to try and do our very best to make sure that those of you that want to participate will participate with us. Now, I do know that some camps they've already had it and so on. To the Most High be the glory. For us, we're looking forward to having ours. And we will be of assistance to those who are in other cities and countries. So on behalf of myself and the New Milleneumn City family, we want to say, Baruch atah Yahweh, Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Salah.